Wouldn't it be awesome if you never forgot anything? You'd always make your dentist appointments on time. If you signed up for a subscription and you're not sure if you want to keep it, you would always cancel it on time. And you'd always remember to wish the people you care about a happy birthday or to buy them a birthday gift. Well, let's talk about how to make this happen for you. If you're new here, my name is Peter. Welcome to my channel, Productivity with Peter. I teach how to use project-based task managers to be more organized and get stuff done. And in this particular video, we're going to talk about never forgetting anything anymore. I'm going to use an app called Things 3 to show you how to do this, although you can use any task manager that you like. I'm also a big fan of OmniFocus, and in fact, I've created successful video courses both on Things 3 and OmniFocus, and you can find the link to those courses in the description below the video. You may have also seen me elsewhere, such as on the YouTube channel Keep Productive, on omnifocus.com where I've written, or on the Suite Setup where I've written as well. Or maybe you've seen some of my other videos. Either way, I'm glad you're with me. So let's dive into today's topic, how never to forget anything anymore. Now the tool we're going to use is Things 3. So I've got Things 3 open up right here, and I'm just sitting in my inbox. And I want to talk about 5 scenarios today and show you how you can use Things 3 to make sure that you remember what you need to do in these 5 scenarios. Scenario number 1. Let's say you subscribe to something, but you have maybe a trial period, or you want to try it out for one period, and you're not sure whether you're going to want to keep it. So for example, I recently signed up for the newspaper/magazine The Economist, which has been a fun read, but I haven't decided yet whether I want to continue my subscription beyond the initial 3 months that I signed up for. So I want to make sure that I set a reminder to either cancel my subscription or consciously decide to have it renew before the renewal date. So I'm over here in my inbox in Things 3. I'm going to create a new to-do. Just hit Command N. And I hit Command N, and I'm going to call this decide whether to renew my subscription to The Economist. So this is the very first thing that you need to do when you want to make sure that you remember something. The first step, really, to never forgetting anything again, is to put everything in a task manager in your system. If you want to use a really basic app like Apple Reminders, that's fine too. Just make sure you've got a system where you're writing everything down and a system that will remind you at the appropriate time. So, for this example number 1, where I'm deciding whether to renew my subscription to The Economist, let's say that I signed up today, right? And my subscription is for 3 months, but I need to let them know at the latest 2 months from now that whether I want to renew or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assign a deadline. And so in Things, it's called a deadline. If you're using a different software, for example, OmniFocus, it may be called a due date. So you might have to adjust this a little bit based on the software that you're using. But in Things, I'm going to assign a deadline. And I can actually just type 2 months, and it'll say in 2 months. Click that. Now, if I don't do anything else, on that day, February 2nd, 2020, Things will put this to do in my today view. So I'll be working out of Things and seeing what do I need to do today, and Things will be like, bing, show me this is something you need to do. Now, I go into my today view all the time, so it's really not a problem. But at the same time, sometimes maybe you're on vacation, or you're not working out of your task manager or your reminders app today, and it's safer to do things a little bit ahead of time. So how do I like to do this? Well, what I can do in Things is I can actually set a different date, which is called the when date. So the deadline is February 2nd, but you probably don't want to always leave everything to the deadline. So let's actually say that we're going to plan to do this maybe, let's say January 26th or something like that. Sometime that is before the deadline. So even if I don't get to it that day, like I'm planning now to get to it that day, but if I don't get to it that day, no problem. I will have a few days of a grace period, right? And if I'm really, really worried, right, about forgetting this, what I can do is I can actually set a reminder as well. So click on the date, go add reminder, 9 in the morning. That's not going to work for me. Let's say 11 in the morning. I'm not usually awake at 9 in the morning. So, okay. And now I'll actually get a notification, maybe on my Mac, maybe on my phone, depending on where I've allowed notifications. And this is what I would do if I wanted to really make sure that I didn't have to pay the next 3 months if I didn't want to. So normally what you might do is you might sign up for a subscription and be like, I'll decide later whether to cancel it. But then you totally forget about it. And it can really cost you money. So this is how I would deal with that in this particular situation. I find this very handy. So that is actually scenario number 1. Scenario number 2. So the other day my coat broke, the zipper on my coat broke, and I took it to a tailor. And the tailor said, I might have it done on Monday. And so I wanted my coat back. It's cold here. I live in Amsterdam and it's cold these days and it's my warm coat. And I wanted it back as soon as possible. He wasn't sure whether he was going to have it done on Monday. And he said he would give me a call, but I don't always pick up the phone. People don't always follow through. So I wanted to make sure that I checked in with him, right? So let's say we've got this and you've taken your coat to the tailor and you say, call the tailor. You got to make these things actionable, right? So start these tasks with verbs. So say, call the tailor to ask whether he has repaired my coat. So I wouldn't write something like pick up coat. It doesn't make sense. You don't know if he's actually fixed your coat at this point, right? The next step that you want to take in this process of having your coat fixed is to give him a phone call and be like, hey, is it done? And if it's done, then you can go ahead and pick it up. So I say, call the tailor to ask whether he has repaired my coat. So I'm just going to assign the when date to Monday and hit enter. Now on Monday, things will put this particular task in my today view. So on Monday, I'll be reminded to do that. This time I am setting the when date, but I'm not setting a deadline because if I don't do this task on Monday, no big deal. I mean, maybe the tailor has actually already fixed my coat and, it takes me another 2 or 3 days to call him to confirm that he's done it. Doesn't matter, right? Nothing terrible will happen. I'll have to wear one of my other jackets, no problem. So a deadline is not appropriate in this case. It's good. I want to be reminded to call the tailor, right? But I don't want there to be a deadline where if I blow past it, my task manager is going to be like, this is overdue. You should have done this, a couple days ago, because that's just unnecessarily going to make me feel bad. And it doesn't add to my objective of actually getting this task done. But so the key here, right, is like what I do is I bring my phone and when I'm at the tailor's, I will actually punch this in before I leave the door. I will actually create a task that says, call the tailor to ask whether he has repaired my coat. And I will set the date for that to Monday. You'll see I'm adding all these tasks in the inbox right now. I'm not even categorizing them. You can see how I've kind of categorized my things areas over here on the left. But I'm not necessarily categorizing things right now. You can if you want to, but the most important thing, if you want to not forget things anymore, if you want to always remember things, is as soon as you think of something or the first chance you get, right, put that thing into your task manager. And so in my case, that is in things 3 right now. And if there's a certain date where you think that would be good to do it, just assign that date right away. And that's just going to make sure that you see this thing at the right moment. Now, if you forget to assign a date or you don't, that's what the weekly review is for. Totally different topic. And if you want to learn more about that, definitely check out my video course on Things 3 called Organize Your Life with Things 3. Or if you want to use a different task manager such as OmniFocus, I have a video course on that as well. Both of those courses teach a whole system, a whole trusted workflow that you can use to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. Anyway, check those out. There's free previews for both of those courses, and the links are in the description below this video. But right now, you could definitely do a lot worse than putting this in your inbox and assigning the date right away. So that was example number 2, when you take in your coat to the tailor and you got to pick it up at some point. Now, example number 3. So one thing I like to do is I like to go rock climbing, and you may have heard me talk about this before. Now, sometimes I want to remind myself to do a certain thing. So, for example, I'm going rock climbing later this afternoon, and I want to see a free physical therapist who will be there today and ask him some questions about some finger problems that I've been having. So there's a physical therapist, and he specializes in that. He's going to be at the climbing gym today. So I want to make sure I do that, and right now I'm thinking of it, but what if I get to the climbing gym and I get excited and I'm climbing and I totally forget to go speak with the physical therapist? So I would like to remember this. I'd like to not forget about this. And again, we're going to use things 3. So I'm going to create a new task, and I'm going to say, talk to the physical therapist. And there's no deadline. He's not only going to be here today. He's going to be here next week as well. Nothing terrible will happen if I don't talk to him today. I'm not going to set a deadline, but I am going to assign that when day today. And I'm going to do that today because I'm planning to go after I record this video. And I'm also going to set a little reminder for myself. Now, there's two ways to set the reminder. One way is to set it right here and say, well, what time is it right now? It's 3:14. So I'll probably be there at 5. So I'm actually going to set the reminder at 5. Which is a solid way to do it. At 5, on my phone, things will pop up and say, talk to the physical therapist. I'll be like, right, I'm supposed to do that. Fantastic way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be to set a location-based reminder. You cannot do this in Things 3, although some other task managers like OmniFocus do support location-based reminders. So what you'll do there is not say, remind me at a certain time, but rather remind me when I get to this place. And that's very handy. Now, if you're a Things 3 user, no worries. I actually created a video to show you how you can use Apple Minders to work together with Things, really simple, for those location-based reminders. So if you use Things 3 and you're interested in location-based reminders, check out that other video that I made on using location-based reminders with Apple reminders. Anyway, this is, again, what I would do. As soon as I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking, oh, right, I really want to talk to the physical therapist today, I'm not going to rely on my own head to remind me of this. Because if I rely on my brain to do this, stuff may come up. Like more important stuff, more urgent stuff, or I just may get distracted. I might forget. And a really good way to not forget is just put it in your task manager. So it's really about developing the habit. All of these, all that I'm really trying to teach you in this video, if you don't want to forget things, if you want to remember things, is make it a habit to get things out of your head and into your task manager. It's the most important thing. So talk to the physical therapist. That was example number 3. Example number 4, dentist appointments. This is one of my favorite examples. So my dentist tells me I should see him every year and I should see the dental hygienist every half year. So I just went to the dental hygienist. And that's handy, but I want to make sure that I go again in about 6 months. Now, what could you do? You could say, I'm not going to worry about this for a while. I don't need to go for another 6 months. And then maybe sometime you'll remember it, but maybe it'll be a year from now or a year and a half from now. You'll be like, geez, I really haven't been to the dental hygienist in a while, right? But it's been a lot more than those 6 months. I mean, maybe you'll remember exactly after 6 months, but how likely is that? So what can you do? I create a really simple repeating to-do in my task manager, so in Things 3, that just reminds me 6 months after I made my previous appointment with the dental hygienist to make another one. So I'll put it this way. Schedule an appointment with the dental hygienist. There's no deadline. If I do this 7 months from now, it's not the end of the world. If I do it 8 months from now, it's not the end of the world. But it would be good to do it roughly 6 months from now. So I'm just going to click the when button here and type 6 months. And then things will tell you what actually in 6 months means. So that's one way to do it. Now what's going to happen is on June 2nd, 2020, Things will put that in my today. And I can set a reminder here as well, although I'm choosing not to in this case because I've been telling you that it's handy sometimes to set up reminders, but ask yourself, do you really need that many reminders in your life, right? And by reminders, I mean notifications. So it's great in the Today view in Things to see a task like this pop up. So when you're deciding what to work on today, you see a list of tasks and you think, oh yeah, that would be good to do today. That's one thing, and I think that's fantastic. You want to do that. But having those notifications pop up, I mean, you're probably already getting so many notifications from your emails, right, to your calendar events, to people messaging you. You're getting those on your phone, you're getting those on your computer. And do you really need more, right? So ask yourself whether it's necessary. And here I think scheduling an appointment with a dental hygienist, that's not one of those things that a notification is appropriate for, right? So I'm going to assign the date to June 2nd, 2020, and then it'll appear in my Today view. But I'm not going to assign a notification, a reminder here. But I also want to make this a repeating to-do because I'm going to want to go to the dental hygienist roughly every 6 months. So what am I going to do? Things tells me this to-do was moved out of the inbox. That's because we assigned a date, but I'm actually going to go ahead. It's still here, and right-click it and then click repeat. Because what I would like to do is I would actually like to repeat this every 6 months, or rather 6 months after I complete it. So there's 2 ways to repeat in Things essentially on a fixed schedule. So for example, I could say repeat every 6 months. So I could do that, right? And then you could say on the first day of the month, second day of the month, whatever, right? Or you could do it, weekly, daily, yearly, doesn't matter. But what if it takes me 8 months to schedule the next one, right? Then if I set it to repeat every 6 months, right? So then there'll be 8 months, and then there'll be 4 months before I get the second reminder, right? But it doesn't make sense to go 4 months after I just went. So even if there's an 8-month period before I go now, I would like there to be 6 months after that checkup. Always at least 6 months after a checkup. So I'm actually going to say repeat after completion and 6 months after previous item is checked off. I'm not going to add a reminder, meaning notification. I'm not going to add a deadline because it's not that urgent. Nothing terrible is going to happen if it takes me a little bit longer. I'm just going to say 6 months after I check off that task, schedule an appointment with the dental hygienist, just create a new instance of that task, and then I'll get to it again. And so this is now a repeating to-do. And so notice also that I called this schedule an appointment. I made it actionable. I used a verb. I didn't say appointment with dental hygienist, right? Or see dental hygienist, right? Because you can't just walk in there, probably, and get helped right away. I mean, maybe you can, that'd be cool. But for me, I need to make an appointment every time I go. So I focus on the next action that I can take, which is schedule an appointment with my dental hygienist. If you want to learn more, by the way, about how to work with dates, repeating to-dos, planning your weeks, and how to handle calendar events, those are all things that I cover in my video courses, including in my video course on Things 3. So just make sure you check that out and click that link in the description below the video. Okay, that was the fourth example. We've got one more example remaining, example number 5, which is making sure that you remember people's birthdays, whether that's wishing them a happy birthday, those people you care about, or whether that is actually buying someone a gift for their birthday or planning a party for their birthday. But let's keep it really simple and just keep it with wishing someone a happy birthday. Let's say there's someone that you don't see very often, but you care about them and you really would like to make sure that you don't forget their birthday. Now, here's how you're going to do that. You're going to create a new to-do in Things, and you're going to say, wish Sarah a happy birthday. Now, you could keep it at this, but you're obviously going to want to assign a date. And let's assign a deadline first. So let's say her birthday is actually December 18th. So you could assign a deadline of December 18th. And it doesn't make sense to wish her a birthday before her birthday, so we'll actually also set the when date to December 18th, although nothing much really changes, but for completeness sake, I like to indicate that this is something I'm going to do on 18 December. And it's also due, it has a deadline of 18 December. And a big advantage of doing this in Things 3, of not only assigning the deadline here, but also the when date. So there's this anytime view in Things, which I don't want to really cover that too much in this video, but it shows you the tasks that you could do anytime, that you could do right now. But this is not a task that you can do right now. Well, you could, but it wouldn't make sense. So by assigning a date to it, Things does not show it in the anytime view, but it's actually just planned for you to work on a future date. So that's why it's handy to assign both. Now, of course, birthdays is something that is going to happen every year, so we want to make sure that we make this a repeating to-do as well. So you can actually say repeat, and this is going to repeat on a fixed schedule. In the previous example with the dental hygienist, we said repeat a certain amount of time after the previous completion, but it doesn't work that way with birthdays. Birthdays are always on the same date, right? So we're going to say repeat every year on the 18th day in December, add a deadline, and you can add a reminder if you want. Again, I find this one of those things where I don't really need to get a notification for this. You could set it up if you want, but I'll see it in my today view. And if you check this box, add deadlines, Things will ask you how many days earlier to start. That just means how many days earlier should the to-do appear in today. What should the when date be? So in this case, that's 0 days earlier because you're going to wish someone a happy birthday on the same day of their birthday. So we click OK, and now we've got a repeating to. You don't see it here, but it exists in Things. Now, let's just modify this slightly. Let's say actually you want to buy a gift for someone's birthday. Then what you would do is this. You would say, buy a gift for Sarah's birthday. So let's say the deadline is actually the day of her birthday again. Right? You're gonna have to buy it latest on her birthday, but that's something that you probably want to start a little bit earlier, right? So let's just do it this way. Say repeat. That's gonna happen again every 1 year on the 18th day of December, and we have a deadline, but this time we say, since it's buying a gift, it would be nice to do that a little bit earlier, to not wait until the day of to get Sarah her gift, because that can be very stressful. So let's just say start 7 days earlier, and then we'll hit OK. And then what will happen is on December 11th, things will show that task in your today view, and then you can start working on it, but there will be a deadline for December 18th. Hey, so that's it. That was the 5 examples of how to work with Things 3 in this case, although you can modify it to whatever task manager you like to use to make sure that you are always remembering things and not forgetting things. And remember, the key here is get things out of your head as soon as you think, I'm going to need to do this later. Get it out of your head and into your task manager, into Things 3 in this case, and then assign some appropriate dates. You might want to assign a deadline. You might want to assign a when date, kind of like a start date when you're going to start working on this or when you plan to work on this. And perhaps you'd like to set a notification, actual reminder, that pops up on your phone as a notification on your computer. And perhaps you'd like to make it repeating. So those are a couple of things that you want to think about. Just try and make it a habit to do this as soon as you think of something. Okay, that was it. If you like this video, I would love it if you could give it a like. And of course, if you would like to see more of my videos on being more organized, being more productive, also subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments what you think of these videos, by the way. Finally, don't forget, if you want to learn a trusted system to really overhaul your productivity, your organization, a trusted system that you can rely on every day, do check out the free previews of my online courses. I've got an online course on Things 3. It's a video course. And I've also got one on OmniFocus, if that's the software that you prefer. Both of those are really successful. People are loving them. I'm getting great feedback. So do check out the free previews. The links to all of these things are in the description below the video. Hey, that's it for today. I hope you found this useful. Let me know what you thought, and have a nice day. Ciao.